Hi, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Yes, today is a big day in so many ways. Today marks a day that we all are hoping and praying will represent a new beginning, will represent unity and a peaceful, joyful, love-filled way for all of us to move forward. Oh, take a moment and just take that in. Okay, so in the spirit of a fresh start and in grounding all of us, okay, and just taking in the possibility of this day, let's just take some big, deep, healing, love-filled, joy-filled breaths, okay? So we're going to take 4 breaths in through the nose, like we always do. We're going to hold our breath for 4 counts, and then we're going to exhale slowly for 5 counts. So 4, 4, 5. Okay, it helps our nervous system calm down, helps ground us. Okay, so inhale love for 4. Hold your breath. Exhale 5 through the nose. Inhale love. Hold your breath. Smile. Exhale peace through the nose. One more. Hold your breath. Exhale 5, peace. Okay. So I'm really excited about our conversation today. So, as you know, in the consciousness, wellness, spiritual space, we talk a lot about self-care, about self-healing, about self-love. Well, I'm so excited today to welcome my very dear friend, Jessica Heaty Gandolfi. She's an emotional healing practitioner and a founder of Harmonium LA, which is a very unique one that I've personally been participating in for 4 years, a very unique spiritual and metaphysical derived healing practice. And what I think Jessica brings very special to this already amazing modality is that she has 30 plus years as a certified skin and body care expert, a wellness expert. And you know, a lot of people don't know this, but in Europe, when people get certified in skincare, it isn't like here in America. They actually go to school a lot longer. They really dive deep to understand that our skin is our largest organ in our body, and that when our skin is actually showing signs of distress or disease or discomfort, they understand that it's all connected to other things other than the skin. It's understanding that it's all involved in the other organs, right? So I really, I believe that Jessica brings something so special to this, like I said, already amazing modality because of her deep understanding of how the body really, how stuff shows up outside. So I'm really excited to introduce my dear friend, Jessica. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Lavinia. Good morning. How are you? I'm so thrilled to be here today of all days. I think it couldn't be more perfect, honestly. It's just absolutely Thank goodness. We can just
Oh,
breathe, take
good.
a moment. Beautiful. So thanks for having me.
Yes, and you look so beautiful. You are definitely glowing. You are shining. You are just in your gorgeousness, which I love. So, okay, so let's start with Jessica. Can you take a moment to tell us a little bit about your journey, like how you got here actually to the US from the UK and your career path, and like really how you got to where you are here and now in this moment, because I think it's a really interesting story.
Thank you. No, absolutely. And that's the thing. I think the journey, we're all on a journey, aren't we? We're all on this path to learning and healing and being and doing. And everybody's got a story, everybody's got a journey. But I guess going way back to the beginning, my journey, it started in high school. I was probably 14 years old. I was really awkward, honestly, Lavinia. I had terrible skin, really bad acne. I was incredibly overweight. I had a terrible perm. I mean, we're talking back in the 80s and the perm was the thing. It was terrible. So I just became this sitting duck for these girls that just wanted to have a bully, someone to pick on, to bully. So I became their target. And, so I went through 4 years of high school at the hands of these girls, emotionally and physically abused by these girls. So that's when my journey really started, because when I went to my college counselor and she said to me, Jessica, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want to do with your life? Honestly, Lavinia, I had no idea, because I had no self-respect. I had no self-esteem. I had no confidence. I had so much self-loathing and self-hatred for my body. I had no idea. What do I want? What am I even worth in this world? So it was, that point was what really changed everything for me, because thank goodness for her. She said to me, well, look, why don't we just get you some work experience? Let's get you into a Saturday job, or let's do something to see if we can't spark some idea inside of you. And so I landed up working in the local beauty salon. It's called the Beauty Spot. And it was this cutesy little converted chapel in the little village where we lived. And I used to go there on a Saturday. And so my job was to welcome the clients when they came in. And when I wasn't busy with clients, I would be dusting the shelves and reorganizing the nail polish. And, I kind of quite enjoyed it. And then I got promoted. And then my job was to actually help the clients into their sunbed sessions back in the day, before we knew how damaging sunbeds were. They're all the rage. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that connection with people. And what I found is that it kind of took me away from where I was at emotionally, the stuff that I was dealing with, because it gave me a purpose. I was looking after somebody else. I was helping serve somebody else. So that really was how I started. So then I ended up at beauty school. And as you say, back in the UK, it's very strict, it's very lengthy. There's so much involved in learning and training to be a skin and body care therapist. And as it turns out, I really enjoyed it. And I actually was pretty good at it. And so by the time I qualified and left beauty school, I had this transportable skill set. I was internationally accredited, and I was 19 years old. I was like, yes, that's it. I can go and travel the world, and I can live this amazing life. And, I have this career, this job where I can literally get a job anywhere in the world. And so that's what I did. And at the time I didn't see it, but now in hindsight and looking back with everything I've learned since then, it wasn't about traveling the world and going to these incredible places. It was about trying to escape from the trauma that I had endured at the hands of these bullies. And so, wherever I went in the world, I had some amazing jobs to the outside. Well, oh my God, my friends like, you have the most amazing life, working in Europe and Portugal, in Southeast Asia and Australia, having these incredible positions within skin and body care industry. But underneath all of that, I was really literally dying inside. I was miserable. I was so unhappy in myself. But being of service to others and helping other people look and feel amazing took my mind off of that. But of course, behind closed doors, I was a wreck, and I landed up with a very aggressive eating disorder. I ended up drinking socially and then more heavily. And, ultimately, long and short of it, I spent 25, 30 years of my life trying to tackle these demons, which were all linked to the emotional trauma that I suffered in high school. I didn't realize at the time, but it meant that all I seemed to do, no matter where I ended up in the world, I attracted the wrong type of friendships, the wrong type of relationships. They were abusive, they were toxic, they were very damaging to myself. And, I was already in a very deep, dark place. And everything I was attracting to my life was just compounding all of that. And I couldn't see it at the time. So I just ended up more and more numbing here, numbing there, escapist behaviors. Anyway, meet my now.
I just want to share something for our community, because we talk a lot about your energy and your vibration is what you attract.
100%.
So guys out there, just like, this is a perfect example of, she was not vibrating at the brightest of vibration. So she was attracting that negativity. So I just want people to see that who you are like that.
Yeah.
What you attract. So
when you're vibrating in that space of shame and guilt and fear and lack of confidence, that is like on the lowest point of the vibrational scale.
yes.
And what, so within, so without, whatever you are feeling and experiences, that is what you are going to attract and draw into your world. And that's it. End of story. It's as simple as that. So in order to shift that, you have to change your vibration. You have to change, but that's very difficult, because when you're in that space, it's not as easy as saying, oh, just start thinking positive. It's not that easy. You have to do the work.
Why don't you take us through, like, what was that initial work? Like, what was the initial work that you did that actually made like that? Because I remember the work that I did where all of a sudden, like, you transform, like you see it. It's like, it's as if your blind spot all of a sudden just gets revealed and you're like, wow, like, so.
Yeah, and I remember, just probably as you do, clear as day. I mean, that point for me was when I was here, you know, so I got married, I had twins, we moved to the US, we moved to LA 13 years ago now. But sadly, because of all the other emotional trauma that I hadn't dealt with, once we got here and my marriage started to crumble, it started to fail. It was, you know, it was just becoming toxic and really not healthy. I had to make
I can't imagine. And again, I don't know your husband, but I can't imagine that if you were at that lowest port, that you actually brought in like a man that was like, you know, so full of light and love and kindness, because normally we get somebody that mirrors our vibration. And if you were in that vibration, I would say, I mean, that you probably brought in something similar of that. I mean, I'm sure he could have worked in himself now and is an amazing man, but whatever.
You have to be ready. You have to see yourself and face yourself to start healing yourself. And if you're not ready, but you know, realizing 5,000 miles from friends and family and support network, miserable as hell, and just getting more and more into that numbing behaviors, something had to change. You know, we have a choice. We have a choice into a situation and we have a choice out of a situation, but it's up to us. We have to make that choice.
Hey, another point, guys, we always have a choice. We can choose.
Always. And so I chose to get divorced. I, you know, sadly ended the marriage because it wasn't healthy for me, for him, for the kids, for any of us. And so that was the point at which this journey started, because I remember waking up one morning, I was 45 years old, sitting in bed. I'm like, is this it? Like, I'm 45, I'm divorced, I've got 2 kids, I'm 5,000 miles away from home and family and friends and network. What? There has to be more. There has to be more. And thank goodness, actually, in hindsight, I was here in LA, because honestly, Lavinia, we are in the mecca of health and wellness and having all these tools at our fingertips for living our best life. If I'd have been in London, it may have been a very different story, because of course in England, are very stoic, stiff upper lip, everything's fine on the surface, but it's not really fine. If we really go within, it's absolutely couldn't be further from fine. So thankfully, I actually was here, because I was able to really take stock and say, okay, what do I need now? What does Jessica, 45, divorced Jessica, single mom, what does she need right now? And it was about looking at healing myself, going back to basics. What do I need? So I dove into self-help. I started my foray into self-help, self-development, and just really took whatever tool I could find, courses, podcasts, workshops, events, you know, whatever I could find, books, to try and figure out, what is this all about? What is the next 45, 55 years on this planet going to look like for me? Because it certainly isn't going to look like it did for the last 45. That I know for sure. And so that's how it all started.
Okay, great. So take us through, like, okay, we know that there is definitely this crossroads between like wellness, spirituality, working out, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body. We know that there's all these little crossroads. So for you, like, talk a little bit about what self-care, you know, what does it look like to you today? Like, how does that come into play?
Yeah, I love that, because self-care is key, but we don't give it the attention and the focus and the respect that it deserves, honestly. Self-care, care of self is critical, because if we don't take care of ourselves, of our bodies, our home, it's the home of our spiritual body and emotional beings, our time on this planet, if we don't take care of that house, then everything around us is going to start to unravel. And I truly believe that there are 3 pillars to ultimate wellness and health. And that's going to be your emotional health, your physical health, and your mental health.
Right.
Now, to me, what I've learned over all of these years working with and on myself and with other clients is your emotional health is the crux of all of that.
Right.
Because for many years, I used to believe it was your physical health. I used to work out. I would be doing a gazillion soul cycle classes a day and running and training and doing all of these things. I thought I was super healthy, but emotionally, I was a wreck. Mentally, I thought I was really healthy because I was reading, listening to podcasts, but emotionally, I was a wreck. So what I've learned, especially over the last few years, is that if our emotional health is not strong, then the rest of those foundations, the rest of that building will start to crack and crumble, and we're going to have a huge amount more work to do. So working on our emotional body is key, in my opinion. And so self-care, care of self, it has to start with you. And I think self-care and self-healing especially are intrinsically linked. And you can't begin to heal yourself unless you're taking care of yourself. Yeah. And so that's the real key. But how do we even begin to do that? And we start to do that by going within. Yeah. And that is the hardest work that we will ever have to do in our lives, because it's the scariest.
Yeah, for sure.
We will ever have to do, because when you go within, when you really go within, when you stop and look and really go inside, it scares the crap out of you, because you see everything. You see it all, warts and all. It's all in there. And you have to face it to heal it.
Right.
And that's the hardest thing, because we don't want to face it because it hurts. It's painful. We're ashamed. We're guilty. We're scared. Whatever those emotions are that come up when we go in are the ones we have to face. And that's why a lot of people will just numb, numbing through drinking, numbing through shopping, numbing through sex, through through eating, through whatever your escapist way is to avoid facing that reality. It's a much easier option, because doing the work is the hard work, but it's worth it.
And like a lot of times people will say to me, like, they don't really understand that going in doesn't mean just meditating. It's like doing a personal inventory, like getting down to understanding. Like, I know for me, I would say even like this last 4 months, self-care for me is speaking my truth. Like that, I mean, like, it isn't getting a mani and pedi. It isn't getting a massage. Like, it's being able, when something makes me feel uncomfortable or unaligned, it's that, and how I know it is, if I get off the phone with somebody, or I walk out of the room with my husband and I'm in my head saying, oh, whatever, gosh, I can't believe I didn't take care of myself.
Yeah.
If I'm in a self-talk, then I didn't. And so I walk back in the room and I say, honey, I realized I haven't shared with you how I'm feeling. And so for me right now, self-care is being able to, if my son says something that makes me feel uncomfortable in the past, because I was a pleaser and I was a peacemaker, I might not have said, hey, see, why did you say that? That made me feel a certain way. And instead I would have been like, you know what? The kid's working so hard. He's hungry. He hasn't had lunch. I would have given a ton of excuses to not just deal with it.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
And then I'd be in my head like, oh my God, I'm such a good mom. I do so much for him. And then
you're in that downward spiral, because by speaking your truth,
yourself, you're not taking care. And like that for me, like self-care is not just mani pedi meditating people. Like there's so many other layers of it. It's like getting down to, like, a lot of times it's getting down to the hard questions that we didn't want to ask, That's
it. It's getting down to the real cellular level. What is that for you? And for you, it's speaking your truth, because when you speak your truth, you're speaking your emotion.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
releasing that emotion. And when you release that emotion, you feel free and you feel lighter. If you don't do that, that emotion will live in your system and it has to come out somewhere. So if it's not
Right.
verbally, it's going to manifest some form in the physical.
Right.
So every physical manifestation, every physical disturbance that we have is a result, a direct result of some emotional disturbance that we are not facing and dealing with.
Yes.
So I think speaking your truth is huge and so
Yeah,
powerful.
and like that for me, like if somebody would say to me again right now, what is such a big thing in self-care? It's powerful communication, loving, speaking your truth in a loving, kind, generous way, but authentically. It's not saying it like accusing, even overly opinionated, gentle, like gentle and calm, you know?
Learning, yeah, absolutely, because it's learning to respond, not react.
Absolutely.
And so that's the other piece of it. You know, when you go within and you look at what you need and you feel it in your body, you know, for me, a huge piece of self-care is boundaries.
Absolutely.
And right now, we don't have any. There are no boundaries. Like, we are at home and we've got kids at home, husbands at home, family members at home. We don't necessarily have the space to go and take time out for ourselves. So
Right.
our boundaries are shot. But if we don't take time to draw a line in the sand, like say, this is my time for me right now to figure out what I need to do for me so I can show up as the best version of myself for you,
Right.
then it all is going to begin to unravel. So there's a very fine line, I feel, at the moment between being of service and being a servant with our family members and
Yes,
people.
absolutely.
And when we're constantly being servants, guess what? We are depleting our own levels of self and abundance and joy, because we then become resentful. And then when we become resentful, we start to get frustrated, and then everything again will flow from there. So it's so crucial to make sure that we give ourselves time to figure out what is our best version of self-care. So for you, speaking your truth. For me, it could be boundaries. For somebody else, it could be having that time, quiet time, doing their meditation, whatever.
Well, you know, I remember doing a workshop and I said the workshop I did was on the power of self-care by saying no.
Oh,
And
yes.
it was just like, because so often women have such a hard time saying no. Like, and it was interesting because I remember this was years ago. My son's coach, one time I said, no, I'm good. And he started laughing. And I said to him, what's so funny? And he's like, I just noticed like the way you say no. And I'm like, how do I say no? And he's just like, you're always like, no, I'm good. And he said, but there are times like I've noticed like people were asking you like big things and you could just say, no, no, thanks, I'm good. And you didn't give an explanation. You didn't go into a song and dance of why you're saying no. You just said it. And he said, I don't think I've ever watched people say it with so much, like say no with so much like happiness.
Well, that's because no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And we forget that, and we feel that we have to justify it. If we say no or no thank you, oh, because XYZ, there always has to be a reason why we can't do it. But actually, no. No is a full sentence, and we owe that to ourselves sometimes. We don't need to, but society is just, and we're so, you know, trained that we have to always give a reason and an explanation as to why we don't want to do something. But actually, we don't. We really don't. And again, that's so empowering when you can embrace that and realize that, no, thank you. That's enough. That's all you need.
Yeah. It's really, and also the other thing that I think for me is self-care is not managing someone else's experience. And I know as a woman, like sometimes it's like, you're not always telling someone the truth because you're anticipating that they're gonna be uncomfortable with it. So it's like you can't manage anyone's experience. Like if I'm gonna tell I actually had a conversation with my son yesterday that was, you know, like not the easiest conversation to have, but you know what? I had it because, you know, I wanted to be authentic with him. about something, and I didn't overthink it because I knew that my heart was pure. And I wasn't worrying about managing his response. I knew that he could handle it. He's got the emotional intelligence to be able to handle that response. But the truth is, as a parent, if you don't give them that, they won't build that emotional intelligence. Like that doesn't happen by a magic wand saying, okay, you're going to have magic, you're going to have emotional intelligence. Like that's it. Like that is actually a muscle that has to be built.
Yeah.
And so often as parents, we're always so worried about, we don't want to upset them. We don't want to hurt them. We don't want to this. So we're actually dumbing down their emotional intelligence. Like, you know, it's like.
But I think that's also as much as like not jumping into the future, like, oh, well, if I say this, how is he going to respond? And then how, you know, automatically you're jumping into that space of anxiety because you're worrying about what's going to happen and it hasn't even got there yet. Could turn out to be a million times better than you could possibly imagine. You know, so staying present. This is what I have to say. I'm going to say it clearly and with love and with grace and with ease. And what will need to be will be from that, and not worrying about how that might manifest or show up as a result of being authentic and being unapologetic about it too.
Yes.
We do not need to apologize for being us.
Exactly.
No.
But like you said, if you're not connected to the self-love that you have, it's hard because then you're kind of like faking it. But I tell people, look, girl, you got to fake it till you make it, because sometimes you just got to fake that level of confidence so that you can actually do it, you know, and also realize that you're going to be a little clumsy.
Of course.
In the beginning. Like it's like if you go out and you're doing new, like you jump into a dance class. I mean, I'm a dancer, and even still, if I jump into a dance class that I've never done, I'm awkward. Like I don't know the warm up. I don't know the body rolls the way they do it. Like you're awkward. So it's no different in when you're starting to like up your game of communication or up your game of taking care of yourself emotionally. You're going to be awkward in it, you know, like
because you have to start somewhere. You have to start with what you have, where you're at, you know, do what you can with what you've got, where you're at. So if you don't have the tools and if you don't have all the resources that perhaps some, you know, like we do here in LA, you know, what do we have? And let's just think about doing so. Let's just move the needle just a teeny bit. Let's just take baby steps as long as we start, because the road that we start on is not the road that we end up on.
Right.
Anything we do in life, nothing. But we have to start somewhere, because unless we start, we're going to be in that space of stasis. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to be any better. It's just going to be the same. So wherever it is that we're at, we just have to take the first step, baby steps, baby steps. We don't need to be running the marathon off the bat. We just need to start building up to that. And that's really crucial too, reminding ourselves of that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Harmonium. I know I started doing Harmonium years ago. And the way I always explained it to people, because people always knew the word Reiki, right? Like they know the word Reiki and energy work. And so I always like to be relatable when you're explaining something. And I always said like Harmonium was like, it was like energy work for the nervous system.
Yep.
And really our nervous system controls so much more than we even understand. So, and then what I found for me, and I'm sure there were so many other things that happened, but what I found for me with Harmonium, like my body just, my mind actually, like that monkey mind kind of shut off. You know, that monkey mind that we have was like, it was like as if, I don't know, like I kind of felt like it was as if I had done like a 12-day silent retreat meditating all day, but yet I got this hour of Harmonium and it really like, it settled everything. I mean, that's what I felt like mentally, like things that might have, you know, irritated me or frustrated me, like it didn't. I was just like, oh, that's good. And then on my body, again, my body just felt calmer. Like I also didn't feel like I am a busy bee. So I am definitely aware that when if I'm dealing with a little anxiety or something that's uncomfortable, it's like I get busy. you know, I just kind of, I start working out and then eat,
That's your way of numbing, not having to face the
yeah, like, I mean, I feel people always said, well, thank God you're at least what you were numbing with was healthy. But, truthfully, at some point it was,
Yeah.
I definitely went down that road. But so kind of talk to us about it and what can people, because really, our conversation is always about tools that people can do at home. So talk to us a little bit about it, because I do think that it's definitely something that for people to do a couple of sessions is always amazing. And I know they're doing you guys are doing distant healing and stuff. And from what I haven't done it, but from what I've heard from people that have done it, it has been so hugely helpful. So share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So Harmonium, and it's interesting, like you say, like I've been in health and wellness and skincare for 30 years, never heard of it. Never heard of it ever. And I've done literally every single possible modality you could think of. And I'd never heard of Harmonium. And so I came across it. I say to people, Harmonium will find you when you're ready to receive it, because it is a next level of healing. It's a spiritual, divine healing system. And if you're not ready for it, it's not going to resonate for you. So I feel that you will find it when you're ready to receive it. And that's kind of what happened with me. I had tried everything else. Nothing else is working. Nothing. Therapy and this treatment and that treatment, absolutely everything, and nothing worked. And I remember having a session with Dr. Lavery, who's the founder of the Harmonium healing system. And he said to me, you just need Harmonium. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about, but whatever, if that's going to work, I'm in. And so I started having, as you did, as a client, and I had very intensive. I had 4 months, really intensive. I had 2 to 3 sessions a week for 4 months. Now that's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot, but I was dealing with a lot. And
sure,
literally after those four months, everything shifted, everything. Because as you say, you're working on the nervous system. Harmonium is working directly on the spine, traditionally, directly on the spine. The spine is an extension of the brain, as we know, and that will regulate the entire body. So when we're working with Harmonium, we're dealing with the entire neurological system. We're recalibrating the entire neurological system. And we're doing that with light touch. So yes, it's metaphysical. Yes, it's divine and spiritual. But at the same time, we are working very, very lightly. Now, when we touch the body very, very lightly, super gentle touch, you are activating that vagus nerve within the body. And the vagus nerve will send messages to your body, I'm safe. So when your body feels safe, it can drop into a really deep state of relaxation. So we're activating the parasympathetic side of the nervous system, because 90% of the time we're running around in the sympathetic fight or flight mode. There's so much, we just have to turn on the TV, we just have to watch social media, we just have to read the newspaper or go outside, and we are overloaded with stress and our nervous systems are shot. So Harmonium, the idea behind it is that it's activating the self-healing capacity of the body by taking you into a really deep state of relaxation. And then from that space, your body can figure out what it needs to do to heal itself. Because ultimately, the only way to get permanent healing is to heal something at root level. Now, a lot of the time, we don't even know what that might be. I mean, 90% of what hurts us, we don't see. We're emotional beings, so we don't see the emotion. We feel it, but we don't see it. And so we have no idea how we're supposed to even begin to figure that out. So Harmonium will allow us, our bodies, to figure out what we need to do. We're very clever. We're designed to heal ourselves at the end of the day. That's what we're built to do, as you know. So Harmonium just allows that to happen, because you get into a state of deep relaxation, your mind can figure it out. It's raising your awareness, it's raising your consciousness. And what you will find is that you will start to see people or situations or experiences that are not serving your highest good. And those people, situations, experiences will start to slip away very gracefully. Harmonium is a very graceful, it's just such a beautiful healing system that it's simple. You don't need to really do anything. Healing shouldn't be difficult. Life is difficult enough. So to just be able to lie down for 45 minutes and allow your body to get into this really deep state of relaxation and start to heal itself, it's beautiful. So again, I say to people, unless you're ready to receive it, it's probably not going to resonate with you. And the thing about it is that once you start to have Harmonium, your life is going to change. So I say to people, if you're happy where you're at, if you're happy just surviving right now, do not have Harmonium, because the minute you start to have Harmonium, your life is going to change. It purely will, in the best possible way. But in order to get to the best possible place, you have to go sometimes through a healing crisis. So it will bring up a lot of stuff that needs to be healed, because to heal something, you have to see it. You have to see it to heal it. You have to face it to heal it. So Harmonium will do that. But the other side of that is beautiful, because you then become to just seeing things with a very different lens, becoming much more conscious about the choices you're making, the situations that you are in, the people you are surrounding yourself with. It's amazing.
Oh, I just want one right now. I'm just like, I think I need Harmonium.
We all need it, but we're not all ready to receive it. So, yeah, but now we have this distance version. Obviously, COVID took away all of the ability for us to do in person. So, we do have this distance version, which again, it's a whole nother level, but it's been so powerful. We do it over Zoom, and we're working with the fact that we're all energy, we're all connected. And so it's possible for us to heal at distance. It really, truly is. There are so many studies to show that that can happen, and it is effective. But with regard to clients and what they can do at home, it's about setting yourself a few little tasks that you have to have a to-do list, because if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. Yeah. So let's create a little toolkit of what we can do to help to get us into that space of really looking within and doing what we can with what we've got where we're at right now. It's difficult. And there's three things, really. The key three things for my clients is breath work, which obviously you did at the beginning. It's crucial. So I have 3 different breathwork practices, and depending on where you're at and what you're doing, you can choose one of the 3 that resonates with you, because your mind will always follow the breath.
Yes.
So you can slow the breath, you can slow the mind, and then you can start to think more clearly, and you can start to respond instead of react, and that shifts everything. So breath is huge. Writing is huge. And that can be anything. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not a writer, I don't need to write. It doesn't matter. It's not about what you're writing on the page. It's the act of expressing those emotions, as you said about speaking your truth. So writing, some people will journal, some people will do a gratitude journal, some people will write music or songs, or maybe it's stream of consciousness, writing 3 pages every morning when you wake up before you do anything else. For me, writing was an integral part of my healing journey. I wrote my children's picture book as part of my healing journey, because it was an outlet for me to put onto paper and release all those emotions that had been part of that marriage, that toxic environment that I had been in for so long. And to be able to write that book, to serve an orphanage, to donate all of that to orphans, to serve others, takes you out of where you're at, and it gives you something else to focus your attention on. And that in itself is very healing. So whatever the healing writing journey might look for, just whatever it is, 5 minutes a day, it doesn't matter, whatever resonates. And then the last one is meditation. And so that can be silent meditation, it can be a moving meditation, it can be a guided meditation with one of the apps that we can get these days, it could be with music or mantras, whatever works for you. And like we said earlier, it doesn't matter where you start, just start somewhere. And using those tools daily. Discipline. You have to have a discipline, like anything. You're not going to get that change unless you put the effort in. You have to have the willpower and the discipline. You have to want to make that change.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, at times like this, I mean, again, like people are searching, like, because we're in such we're in such uncertainty. And that uncertainty is creating a crazy amount of anxiety for people. I mean, my phone gets blown up with, hey, Lavinia, what can I be taking for anxiety? Hey, Lavinia, what can I be taking natural for sleep? And I'm just like, there's other things before popping stuff into the mouth, even though it's natural. Let's like do things together, like let's do the behavioral, some of this, the little bit of breath, a little bit of writing, and a little bit of tryptophan, a little bit of melatonin, yes, but it's not just I really believe the things that you're talking about really brings some inner peace, and that's what we're all and stress release. I mean, I can't tell you how many young people that I know, and I say young, I mean in their 50s, that have literally had heart attacks during this COVID.
Yeah.
And some of them massive, like if they did not get to the hospital immediately, they were actually they were working out.
Yeah.
And then boom. And,
Well, I had shingles before Christmas. I'm 49 years old. I'm young. I shouldn't have shingles. I had a shingles for a month, and it's the nervous system overload. And one of the things I say to clients is, first they say, I don't have time to meditate. I've got the kids, I've got the husband, I've got this, that, the other, the work. When we wake up in the morning, 9 times out of 10, the first thing we will do is pick up our phones, emails, social media. What do I need to do? And we are immediately stressing out our nervous systems. If we can just stop, just take 15 minutes, the minute we wake up, don't even pick up your phone, just wake up and just sit in your thoughts and maybe write or maybe meditate or maybe light a candle and just sit and just think about, what do I need today for me?
Yes.
And sometimes people say, well, I can't meditate. I can't just sit in silence, but it's a practice. And the more you do it, it's incredible what will come through in those quiet times before anything else. It's so powerful because it will set you up on the day ahead. And if you can't think of anything right now, just think about, what am I grateful for? Like, we all have something to be grateful for. Or what happened yesterday that was so wonderful that I really want to recreate? Or what do I want to look to achieve today? Like, where am I at right now? And having that time.
And it is true. Like, I have I have a meditation practice. I have a writing. And it's interesting. I'm going to just grab my book. I was invited into this group where I'm doing the Writer's Way.
Love that book.
And I've done this in the past. I did it about, I want to say like 10 years ago with another group. And so at first when I was invited, I was like, oh, and I've already done that. I definitely had that moment where I had to catch myself and be like, ego. But so I committed to it. And it was interesting because of course, it's the morning pages. And even though I've journaled, the direction that they give you on this is just a little bit different than the way I've been journaling. And you know what? Just making that shift, I have already see. Again, I'm still doing 3 pages, but now I'm doing it with a little bit of a different intention that's going towards this. And I mean, it's really been amazing in 1 week on some of the changes that I've seen in the expansiveness and seeing things a little differently. And so
you're opening up those channels and you're allowing spirit to flow through you. You're allowing your creativity to flow through you.
Right.
And 5 minutes of positive thinking or positivity, and if you're doing that, that can be part of that. It will offset 18 hours of negative thinking. So even if you do 5 minutes a day, that people might say, well, it's not enough. It is enough, because it will change the brain chemistry. It will change the way you look at things, like you say, and the perception that you have of things. I remember reading something, there was a study done that said spiritually healthy people live longer lives, and people with a higher level of spiritual health will have higher levels of emotional health. So when you say spirituality, a lot of people say, oh, it's also woo-woo, but it's not. Writing, creative writing, that's a spiritual act. Meditating, breathing, it's all spiritual, because we're spiritual.
It doesn't even have to be like, because that could be intimidating, creative writing, but like, I'm just writing like, how am I feeling? Like, what am I feeling? How am I feeling today? What is my wish for my day? Like, if I, like, it's just changing some things. And like, there is one part of chapter 1 where, because I am writing a book right now, and I have a writer that I write with, and I have this story, like, I'm not a good writer. And even though she keeps telling me, Lavinia, you're a great writer, I have this story. And like, in the book, you go back to what was the root cause of you thinking you weren't a good writer. And it's crazy, because I remember, like, my 3rd grade teacher, I wrote something and she wrote, you need work on grammar, exclamation point, exclamation point.
Yeah.
And the tone in which she said it was basically saying, you're not good in grammar.
Right, exactly.
And instead of like a kind way of saying, hey, Lavinia, the story was amazing. I want it, like, let's work on this a little bit, it was very negative. And that, like, I didn't realize, but that like stuck in my heart. That became like something. So I kind of kept this story going that I'm not a good writer. But when I got through to that and I saw it, it was like so clear. I was like, whoa. And then I made new affirmations, and I have them actually posted all around office right now about that I'm a great writer. I express myself fully. And now, like all of a sudden, my morning pages, I'm doing 5 and 6 pages instead of, 2 or 3 pages. So
Exactly. And
like
it's just going through, and
so the
instead of worrying about what you're writing, you're just allowing it to flow through, because you are a great writer. Everybody, we all have a story to tell. Everybody's capable of writing a book. We've all got a story, and someone needs to hear our story because it's going to help somebody else. So forget about, oh, I'm not a good writer, whatever we tell ourselves. It's like, how can I help somebody else with what I have been through? Not, oh, why did that happen to me? But, oh, that happened for me so that I can help somebody else that might be going through a similar thing. And so how can I do that?
And, once you start something new, it just does, it creates expansiveness. I can't explain it, but I know even just this week, there's been definitely things that have shifted. And I know it's all from that. So I do think it's that starting something, shifting it a little bit if you already have it. So the last question is, so often we hear from people, I don't have time. Oh my God, like I just don't have time in this. That's not what I do. Like what are the things that you could say to somebody, okay, how do we really help people make that happen? Like with your clients?
You have to set yourself up a structure. You have to be disciplined about it. How much do you want it? How much do you want to change? Like we said in the beginning, it's choice. So you can choose to stay where you are, or you can choose to be somewhere else, but it's up to you. We are in control of our own bodies, mindset, destiny, period. How much do we want it? Because if we really want something, we will go out of our ways to find that and make the time for that to happen. Time is like the biggest commodity, and time puts so much pressure on us. Oh, I don't have time for myself because I've got to do X, Y, Z. But we have to make it part of our daily routine. Now, if that means waking up 15 minutes earlier, then so be it. Right. One of the big things, which I think is what I have used all of the time during my healing in the last 4 or 5 years, is walking. And I know you're a big walker too, because you can go for a walk and it might be for 5 minutes, for 20 minutes, for an hour. And that gives you time for you. And it doesn't matter where you live, if you're in a city, if you're on the beach, if you're in the middle of nowhere, you can go outside. It costs you nothing except your time. And that's what you need. You need the time to think. And by walking outside, it will give you clarity. Whether you walk in silence, or whether you listen to music, or like you say, inspirational podcasts or talks, or you just think about you, or you just start to become so much more grateful and see how well you are living and how good your life is, because you will see other things on your walk that will inspire you or remind you that where you're at actually isn't all that bad, but it gives you that time. It gives you that time to focus. So I think it's about carving out time, setting boundaries, writing a plan and sticking to it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I would also invite people on their walk to actually leave this home. Don't even take it. We need more time to really unplug. And I mean, look, I think podcasts are great. I think listening, but I think also just being able to walk and do what I would call walking meditation and observe, look at the trees and the different color greens, and, get present to the different smells. I mean, even I walk around my community a lot, and it's I'm always floored by all of the different senses from one house to the next. I never smelt that before, because in truth, I was usually on my phone, either, listening to a podcast or maybe even listening to Nam. But somehow when I was doing, Ramadas, I was walking, I was missing some stuff in that. So that I found that time to be helpful, to be able to just kind of do a walking meditation. And especially for people that can't sit, they'll say, I find meditation more stressful. than.
Because some people do, but that's good. So do the walking meditation, because
Yeah.
we move ourselves. You know, we're emotional beings, and you know, energy in motion. We have to move, and especially when we're stuck at home and we're zooming all the time and we're not doing what we used to do. Get outside and walk, because it will change your emotion. So if you're feeling funky, or if you're feeling frustrated, or if you feel like you're going to absolutely lose it, get outside immediately and walk, because it changes the whole dynamic. It will change the environment. Come back 5 minutes later and everything will have shifted in a positive way.
Well, this was a great, great talk. First of all, I love seeing you like this. It fills my heart with all your beauty and brightness and health. And congratulations. I mean, really, congratulations for taking this on and doing the work and then sharing it with everyone. Because I always feel like those really are the best teachers. Like the best teachers are the ones that kind of like suffered through the pain of something and came out on the other side. And even though you come out on the other side, it's not like, okay, now I don't have to work on myself. Like you still are. And you know, it's ongoing. And you know, I just know that so many people are that you're really going to be able to help people. And that makes me like so happy for you, because I know how much that means to you in your heart to be able to help people.
Yes, I said to myself, you know, I didn't go through everything I went through to die with that inside of me. Like I went through everything I went through so I can help other people. So when clients come to me and they're dealing with divorce, or if they're dealing with eating disorders, or if they're dealing with addiction, if they're dealing with trauma, I can empathize. I've been there. I have been where they are. And so I know when they don't believe me and they're in the depths of it, and they're like, oh, I don't think this is going to get any better. I can say, hand on heart, trust me. I know this to be true because I have been you. And so that's my mission. It's like, I have to bring this mission to fruition, Lavinia, because that's the reason I went through all of these things, is it's so I can help other people.
And it's so beautiful, because that will be your legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and that is just so inspiring, you know. So thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for tuning in today. I'm really excited about our conversation next week. We're actually going to bring on some conversation with my people's favorites, and we're actually going to talk about the virus. We're going to talk about the vaccine, because again, my phone is getting completely inundated with people wanting to know, Lavinia, are you doing the vaccine? Lavinia, should I do the vaccine? I'm like, I can't be telling you to do the vaccine. But you know what? I think we'll have a conversation about that. Like, how do we choose? How do we choose powerfully, well-informed, and feel really good about our choice in taking this vaccine? All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.